This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Behind a strong afternoon of pitching, the New York Mets picked up their second win in a row, locking up a series win, defeating the Kansas City Royals by a final score of 3-1. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season as the Mets throw it back old school. Just enough offense and a dominant pitching performance, first with the guy that started the game and then with the guys that came in out of the bullpen, leading the Mets to their second straight win. And like we said, their third series win in their last four series. So starting to stack up those series wins. Edwin Diaz gets a 6-out save in this one. And I think Edwin Diaz's usage in this game, the overall aggressiveness, the way the game was managed, that's where we should start today's postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
There are times here on this postcast, many of you have brought it up. You question some of the decisions. I've questioned some of the decisions that Carlos Mendoza has made. Earlier this week, debating taking out David Peterson when he did in the first game of the doubleheader against the Baltimore Orioles. But then there are games like today where you see just an absolute managerial masterclass with Clay Holmes and Manaea both scheduled to work tomorrow. You have a pretty good feel as a manager that those two guys, if everything goes according to plan, they should be able to cover a majority, if not all, of the game tomorrow. Clay Holmes has been able to go 5 innings on a semi-regular basis here recently, even though they're trying to manage his workload. Manaea being able to give you 3 or 4 innings should feel in the cards, even though they are going to take it slow with him, it being his first start of the year. And so I loved the way Carlos Mendoza aggressively managed this game. Have a 1-run lead late, we're going to go to defense. We're going to move Brett Baty, play him at third. We're going to put Luis Angel Acuna at second base. We are going to play to try to protect this 1-run game. We're going to use Reed Garrett early in this game to protect the lead. We're going to use Edwin Diaz to get 6 outs again, because the plan, at least as we sit here today, is you're not going to need Edwin Diaz tomorrow with Clay Holmes and Manaea both being able to go. So I really tip of the cap to Carlos Mendoza for the way that he managed this game, understood that you just play for today, understand that you have a really nice advantage tomorrow with the way that your pitching lines up, go out, steal this game, make sure you lock this one down. That's exactly what the Mets did, although I think we all would have loved a little more insurance than just the 1 run that they got there in the 9th inning. To make it a 2-run lead instead of just a 1-run lead, as they did have some situations to work themselves out of. But just a really well done job managerially, in my opinion, to move those chess pieces the way that you did and to use Edwin Diaz as aggressively as they did. They tend to stay away from him for multi-inning saves. They stay away from those 4, 5, 6-out saves. Tonight, today, this afternoon, however you want to describe it, felt like a good time for them to roll the dice, especially with the All-Star break right around the corner. The offense provided from Juan Soto, his 23rd home run of the season, an absolute no-doubter, splashdown out there in the water sculpture, the waterfall out there in right center field. And I think I've forgotten how hot Soto got in June and how he turned things around from that slow start, because 23 home runs feels like in my head more than he should have at this point. He has really started to turn it on and has been the centerpiece of the Mets offense, the centerpiece of that Fab Four as of late. And interesting to see him in the DH spot tonight. I know I mentioned it in the postcast last night, a little worried about the grimace that he had after scoring on that play in the 8th inning of the game last night. He stayed in the game, hit a home run in the 9th inning. Not too much of a cause for concern. I wonder if they wanted to get him off his feet here and allow him just to be a DH today with Montas on the mound. Again, continue to have that bat in the lineup, but maybe after banging himself up a little bit, fouled the pitch off of his leg as well. So maybe trying to just take it easy with him, still get his bat in the lineup. He's still able to hit his 23rd home run of the season. Frankie Montas threw up a bunch of zeros early in this game, looked really solid in his last start before the All-Star break. We will talk about that, the stuff to keep an eye on. And there's a lot to get to from this game to keep an eye on, especially somebody that wasn't used in the game today. And also the Mets continuing to excel at something over the last couple of years. And it was on full display again here today. We'll get to all of that and your thoughts, as always, here on the other side. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. They've got a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Maybe you need some help with an order. Supply House. They've got expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. And for those trade pros out there looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks. How about this? Dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Second half of the baseball season right around the corner. Maybe last minute you want to decide to head to a ball game with friends or family. Maybe you're going to wake up on a game day here in the second half and suddenly realize, you know what? I got to be at the ballpark. I got to see the Mets in action. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. The easiest way to grab those last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money that you're going to save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app are actually going to drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that's going to take the worry out of buying. They've got last-minute tickets, zone deals for big savings. The seat view, my favorite feature, right there in the app before you buy. You're going to know exactly where you'll be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Back here on the Mets postcast, recapping a 3-1 victory for the New York Mets, wrapping up a series victory for the New York Mets, even with one game left to play, their third series win in their last four. And the Mets threw it old school tonight. What had been their recipe at the start of the season when their offense was a little sluggish? Dominant starting pitching. How often did we come on to these postcasts and talk about another night in which the Mets got great starting pitching and great bullpen work? Nights where Reed Garrett was excellent, Ryan Stanek was excellent, Huascar Brazoban, Jose Butto, Max Kranick, Edwin Diaz behind, Clay Holmes, David Peterson, Kodai Senga delivering those excellent starts on the mound. Well, that's exactly the recipe that the Mets followed today, and it was Frankie Montas' turn to throw up a bunch of zeros and to lead the Mets into battle on the mound. End of the day, 5 innings, the 1 earned run allowed, did throw up at least 5 zeros to start the game. That run that came across is when he went out there to start the 6th inning as the Mets were trying to steal some outs with Frankie Montas, but thought he worked in and out of trouble nicely. And again, each of these starts building that confidence for Frankie Montas. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and this is my platform to share these types of thoughts. In today's baseball, I think everybody would love for their starters to go out there and give them 7 innings of shutout baseball, right? 8 innings of shutout baseball. I think many of us were, spoiled by the Jacob deGrom era, right? When he would just go out there and dominate, and that just came to be the norm. We kind of expected that. I think it's fair to say you have 1 guy, maybe 2 guys in your rotation that can be that, whereas the other 3, you're just hoping that they give you a quality start, and or when they walk off the mound, they give you a chance to win. And so that's the way I try to gauge a Frankie Montas start. That's the way, at least at the start of the year, I was choosing to approach Clay Holmes, Griffin Canning starts, right? Question marks. Griffin Canning, highest ERA in the American League last year. Clay Holmes, reliever, becoming a starter. Just give the team a chance to win. You don't have to go out there and strike out 7, 8, 9, 10 batters, go into the 7th, 8th inning. Just when the manager takes the ball from you, when your day at the office is done, did you give the Mets a chance to win? That's the barometer that I'm choosing to use with some of these pitchers. Although the expectations around somebody like Clay Holmes has grown as the season has progressed, that's the barometer that I'm using for Frankie Montas. And guess what? Did it again today. And so really impressive stuff by Frankie Montas, throwing up a bunch of zeros, 5 to start the game, trying to work into the 6th inning. Again, going to be on a little bit of a pitch limit here as he slowly starts to ramp back up. You hope by the time we get to the end of August into September, there is no governor on Frankie Montas and he can kind of let it rip. But again, I thought an overall good day at the office for Frankie Montas, and then turned it over to a bullpen that got the job done. And maybe we can use this as a transition into the stuff to keep an eye on. I found it interesting that with the game on the line today, they used Reed Garrett early. Chris Davinsky was given the assignment to throw in the 7th inning. And then instead of going to Ryan Stanek in the 8th or using somebody else, I know Austin Warren was up at one point in the game. Carlos Mendoza, we talked about that aggressive managing that he had in this game today, went to Edwin Diaz for 6 outs. So I think that shows you where Ryan Stanek is, and I'll use, I think Ray is the one who talked about Reed Garrett being in the circle of trust. I usually use the trust tree, but circle of trust, trust tree, trust circle, however you want to describe it. Ryan Stanek certainly has been removed from that trust circle, I think, by his lack of usage here in this game today, whereas the Mets thought better chance to use Edwin Diaz for 6 outs for 2 innings than it is, and Chris Davinsky being the guy to piggyback off of Reed Garrett. I thought that was a really interesting decision as well. So the bullpen usage, obviously a big thing to keep an eye on. Another thing to keep an eye on, it was another day with a hit for Mark Vientos. And again, we're going to take these small wins with Mark with the struggles that he has had this season. We're going to take multiple days where he's able to get on base. And again, I think with each passing day that he is able to have a contribution in some capacity to this ball club, it is going to, one, re-increase his confidence, but I think also take that pressure, that weight off of his shoulders because he's been carrying it all season long. So certainly a good day for him as well. We can nitpick and talk about the offense overall, not doing a whole lot outside of the Soto home run. We can talk about a team, 4 men left on base. They did go 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position, so that certainly is a good thing. We can continue to talk about the bottom part of the lineup, not doing a whole lot. Again, all things we could choose to nitpick about. And again, things that are concerning big picture. But you know what? The New York Mets, after getting swept in a doubleheader and after missing a chance to win another series, felt like they gave the game away that Peterson started and then had a flat effort with an opener in the second game to bounce back the way that they have over the last 2 days, with scoring the 7 runs in the 8th and 9th innings last night, and with just grinding this one out, leaning on your great pitching to get this victory here today. You tip your cap and you say, great job winning another series here ahead into the All-Star break. They're going to walk into the All-Star break winners of 3 of their last 4 series. Again, you continue to stack those series wins. That record is going to continue to look really, really good for the New York Mets. What else looks really good for the New York Mets is their ability to win challenges, because for the second straight day or game, since last night was a little bit of an after dark affair, post game started after midnight for all of us here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. For the second straight game, the Mets were able to overturn a safe call at second base for a runner popping up off the bag and not having contact with the bag. And so a lot of credit to go across the board here. Obviously, credit to the Mets catchers for making those good throws and putting their defenders in a position to make the tag. It was McNeil, I believe, last night. Today it was Lindor. Credit to both of those guys for keeping the tag on throughout the entire process. And credit to the Mets replay staff for seeing something, because even the SNY broadcast, even Steve and Ron didn't think that there was anything there. But for the second straight day. Now, last night, I thought there was a lot of evidence when you piece the angles together to say that he was disengaged with the bag while the tag was still on. Today on Bobby Witt, I didn't see enough. I didn't see enough angles that made it look like clear and convincing evidence to overturn. But credit to the Mets as they continue to do this. Now, we're going to be fair. That's not the spirit of the rule, right? I don't think that's the spirit of replay. I don't think that's the spirit of what replay is trying to get right and trying to fix, try to correct. But you know what? You're allowed to challenge these plays. The rules are written the way that they are written, and the Mets for 2 straight days have been able to take advantage of that. And so that is a weapon, because think of the difference of Edwin Diaz needing to continue that inning and rack up more of his pitch count if Witt is at second base, instead of turning that into an out and then being able to attack the batter. So these plays, you may think it's just a random challenge in the middle of a game or in just a critical juncture of the game, but they matter. There's a butterfly effect to them, and you saw it here today because I think because of that, it certainly made Carlos Mendoza way more comfortable with Edwin Diaz going out there for a second inning of work. He threw 22 pitches in the 2 innings today, so was able to keep his pitch count low enough to where you felt good about him being able to have that second up down and go out there and pick up his 19th save of the season. So great job for the New York Mets and their replay staff as they continue to just excel at all of this. They're already really good at throwing out runners at second base. Over the last 2 days, they've gotten some assists from the replay booth to add some more to the list. Francisco Lindor, his 200th career stolen base. Make sure we make a note of that before we get out of here. His 15th of this season, his 200th of his career. And I believe he is one of 9 active players now with 200 career stolen bases, as the Mets this year continuing to show that is a tool in their toolbox, taking those extra bases. They've just been excellent at it here over the last couple of weeks and months, just basically free running on all of these pitchers. And the broadcast has really been talking a lot about that the last week or so, of how good they are at just taking those basically running start leads and stealing bases with ease. A lot to look forward to tomorrow for the New York Mets as they will go for the sweep of the Kansas City Royals, and they will look to go into the All-Star break on the ultimate high note with a 3-game sweep of the Kansas City Royals. As we close this postcast, the New York Mets back in a statistical tie for first place in the NL East, and we will get a chance to see Clay Holmes and Sean Manaea go tomorrow, and Sean Manaea making his season debut for the New York Mets, piggybacking with Clay Holmes. So you would expect the Mets to have the pitching battle. This is not the traditional opener situation that we have been accustomed to over the last couple of weeks, especially this week. We've seen it a couple of times. No, this is, you're going to have a really good starter going to start the game, and then you're going to have another really good starter going as the first person up out of the pen. So it should be really fun to see that in action. And you feel really good about the Mets, who, by the way, 7-3 in their last 10. So playing some really good baseball after the month of June was one to forget. The Mets pick up a victory behind a really dominating pitching performance across the board. Started with Frankie Montas, ended with a 6-out save from Edwin Diaz as the Mets pick up their 55th win of the season. We are back here tomorrow after the finale of the first half, the finale of this 3-game set with the Kansas City Royals, to break it all down ahead of the All-Star break. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. You're listening to us over on the Locked On Mets podcast feed. We appreciate you. You can come out and join us live if you want, get involved, be a part of the live chat, share your thoughts after these Mets games conclude. Another day, another win for the New York Mets, who continue to stack up these series wins. They did so again, and now starting a little bit of a mini winning streak ahead of the All-Star break. We're back again tomorrow to break down the series finale against Kansas City. Have a good one, Mets fans.